Hi guys, welcome to. I think this is the third week for our watch parties for the Walrus Draft League Season 2. Uh, you're joined by me again, Hedja, and uh, we have a couple of other people here. There's, of course, Gemma, Mamo, and
Hey,
Edens. And we're going to be, hello, yeah, and we're going to be watching the last game of week 2, which is between LittEleven and And after that, we're going to carry on and watch the rest of the week 3 games. So, just to recap, we have LittEleven's team, which is the dedicated trick room, and then we have who is running the electric terrain. So, I think the game plan is very simple from obviously, all of his mods are really fast, and even faster within the electric terrain, while all of its mods are really slow. So, has to absolutely make a priority to not let trick room go up. Unfortunately, I don't know how easy that is because we have some really bulky trick room setters on LittEleven's team, like Screamtail, Dustclops, even the Reuniclus, which is supported by a presumably Rage Powder skill villain. And I'm not sure. It doesn't look to me like any of Arm's mons is truly capable of like OHKOing any of the trick room setters um, on LittEleven's team. So I think Lit's gonna have a very easy, almost like guaranteed ability to set up the trick room, in which once the trick room is set up, I think Arm's gonna have a really rough time. So I think Lit has this matchup like quite handily in the bag, but we'll see what has planned to do with it. Yeah, we see a Lightning Rock Dusk and a Lucha and a expected skill villain next to a possible screen tail, which is possibly a trick room setting. So you can see naturally by speed tiers, Lycanroc is actually slower than Halucha, but I don't even think that matters too much because I don't think either of these mods are capable of OHKOing the Screen Tail. So unless like the most favorable situation is Lycanroc is either like faster than Halucha and uses a rock move to instantly OHKO the Scovillain and Halucha taunts the Screen Tail, or like Lycanroc Celerock somehow kills the Scovillain, which I really doubt. But even if that does happen, if the Screen Tail is carrying the Mental Herb, it's going to set up Trick Room anyways. So yeah, it's not looking that easy. And you see the Halucha just opts to switch out. But you don't see a Rage Pilot, you see a Double Protect. And Lycanroc opts to the Rock Slide itself. You see a Moody Proc, which, I mean, in the vacuum, it looks really scary. There's +2 special attack on the Scovillain, which can be a special attacker, but I'm not expecting that to matter a whole ton because of how I expect this Scovillain to be a support Scovillain rather than an offensive one. We do see the Raichu positioned in on a double tech, which can be really good because Raichu does have the ability to run Encore, but in the end, it can only Encore one of these two mods, and I'm expecting the Scovillain to have a Rage Powder. So if it just Encores the Scovillain to Rage Powder, I don't think that Scovillain's too mad about that, and the Screamtail is going to be able to set up Trick Room anyways. We see a Terra Steel, a Rock Slide come out, and we don't see an Encore. So Rage Powder doesn't come out, but you see like it's very low damage coming out from either of the mods on the side. Trick Room doesn't go up, but if Lycanroc, which judging from the fact that it was clicking Rock Slide turn 1 and turn 2, it's very likely that it might have been Choice Scarf. It definitely doesn't look like Choice Band damage, but it also like it's very questionable if it is Choice Scarf because um Rock Slide doesn't actually benefit from Tough Claws, which is one of the main reasons why you would even use Lycanroc Dust because um what Tough Claws does is gives a 1.3 times boost to like physical contact moves, and Rock Slide isn't a contact move, so it's a pretty weak spread move coming out from Rock Dust versus a very bulky team from LittEleven. So it looks like Scarf, but it's also confusing to me why it would be Scarf. But yeah, if it is Scarf or like Choice in any guard, it being disabled means that it's forced to switch out, or else it's gonna struggle. And I do think that it probably was Scarf.
I guess the question
So
becomes, why are you considering Scarf as an option when you know your opponent is going for dedicated Trick Room, and that's the way that the entire team is built? You know, like,
yeah, that okay.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a pretty confusing choice. I'm not so sure if there's like something we missed, but like if I'm not wrong, from all I remember of this Kim LittEleven team is that it generally is a very trick room centered team. I don't think there is a huge mode outside of the trick room. So yeah, I'm very confused as to why Scarf Like and Rock Dust was brought here. Yeah, but we do see um after the Vault switch, the Vault brought in, which is finally a mon that can actually like do relevant damage to Screen Tail, which might mean that the school villain may be forced to do anything like actually click a Rage Powder if it does have it, because somehow it's not clicked yet. Somehow Trick Room's not been clicked yet, which um is very shocking to me, because I thought like, well, these mods are so bulky, so obvious that you can't just click Trick Room. No, these two mods have just led in kind of done nothing yet. But Alm hasn't actually like. I mean, Alm has been able to do some damage, but I don't know how much progress he's actually making. At least the Drawdown is a mod that can actually like do relevant damage to Screamtail. Raichu, I don't know. The Vault Surge damage, I can't even tell if it like is a boosting item or not. Because like, to be fair, like Raichu's not very strong, and Vault Surge isn't a very strong move. So this actually might even be like a Specs Vault Surge into a spit of Screamtail. You could either protect and protect. Okay. Oh, we see Iron Defense coming out from the Duraludon. Well, Iron Defense probably means that it is body press, and probably means that it's looking towards KOing the skill villain. Um, but the skill villain's actually gone into a state where it's become very bulky. Like it's gone to plus 2 defense, plus 2 spin death with the Steel Terror. Uh,
Yeah, it's going to be a huge
unfortunately,
issue
skill
trying to
villain.
remove that Scovillain at all. So
Uh,
the Rage Powder is even stronger now, just because you're probably going to have to be forced to double up into it either way if you want to commit to the kill. Um, but even then, if you are forced to commit to the kill here, it is just an infinitely stronger Trick Room turn when you decide to finally click the Trick Room, you know?
if they decide to click Trick Room ever. Um, the thing about skill villains that is actually like just really not bulky at all. So I wouldn't be surprised if a double up at this point still managed to kill it with like body press plus like electric move. Like if that kills Skull Villain, I wouldn't be surprised. This mod has no bulk whatsoever. But yeah, it still would require a double up from these two mods. We see a fake out coming out, citrus and a body press. Oh, never mind. This is very bulky tree in Skull Villain.
Oh my god.
You see that it's got another spin boost. Uh, and just late seed. So it is a bulky skill, but it's not offensive, but it doesn't look to be in a redirection. It looks like it just meant to sit on the field, take attack, stall with Moody, get a bit of boost, and take it to a lead seed. So it's not so much a support skill villain as it is like more like annoying one, but it's gonna work out just fine here because you can see it's getting another defensive boost. So it doesn't look like the Raichu is running Encore at this point. The Screen Tail disables the body press from Duraludon, which is a very smart move because that's probably its main way of actually damaging the skill villain. And the skill villain is looking like it's getting to a point where it's snowballing out of control with defensive boosts from Moody and Lee Seed. Yeah, this is looking pretty scary because he's just going to protect every other turn. Lucia does manage to click SC, but you can see it's running disable and on con Screen Tail. It doesn't look like this Raichu itself is running Encore either. We see a failed double
Well,
tech, and Yep, you can see that even with the plus 2 defense, Halucha with plus 2 attack effectively negates the defense boost, and like I said, Squivalish is not a very bulky Pokemon, so it still dies in one.
It would have been nice to see the Mon do something cool aside from just sitting on the field and clicking Leech Seed, but the 65, 65, 65 defensive spread just that's rough, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, this mod just doesn't have defenses to actually like tank relevant strong attacks. And so somehow, even though doesn't look like he came into this game with a very good game plan, I think Lit hasn't cared to bring a strong game plan either, and just has decided to troll with Moody Lead Seed Terrascope villain.
I mean, it kind of
So
worked, but it is what it
not
is.
not really. Like Om has taken like chip damage on his mons, but I mean Lit hasn't actually like made a ton of progress outside of like the seed chip. We do see that what he has done is faked out the Halucha so that he can get the Encore. Screen Tail is slower than the Halucha as we saw in previous turn. So getting the fake off into the slot allows the Screen Tail to disable the close combat, which means that this Berserker, even though the Halucha is plus 2, probably isn't going to be able to like um, take relevant damage from it. Or at least take a lot less. I'm presuming it is carrying like something like a Brave Bird or Acrobatics, but it's not going to take as much from the plus 2 one. Don't get me wrong, Berserker isn't very bulky either, but it's going to take a lot less from flying moves than it is from the close combat. It's probably going to fold to the close combat in one, I'm pretty sure. So yeah. So you see, I don't know if the Halucha necessarily needed to switch out because again, I do think a double up from these two mons into the Berserker probably is going to kill, and doesn't look like the screen tells any intention whatsoever of doing damage. So I think this could have been a double up from Om into the Berserker slot, but he opts to switch out of his plus 2 unburden Halucha, brings in the Raichu instead, as the Lycanroc clicks Rock Slide again. Yeah, I'm not sure why the Lycanroc just clicked the Rock Slide.
Probably just fishing for the flinch chances at this point.
I guess, but like, it has to be a better move. Like, seriously.
That's
Yeah, you see, Hawk Punch doesn't kill, Electro Ball kills, which, I mean, I have a feeling like this Raichu might be specs. But yeah, I think you're going to see close this game out because LittEleven has not showed interest in doing damage this game. Yeah, no interest in doing damage, no interest in setting up Trick Room. Yeah, for the fact that Raichu's clicking Electro Ball into a Screen Tail, which has like 111 base speed, signifies that this Raichu is most definitely specs. Also, from the fact that it was doing like 55 non-terra to the Conqueror,
mhm.
it's almost certainly a specs Raichu Alola. Well, actually, it was clicking Fake Out, right?
Yeah,
Tripping.
it was clicking fake
Yeah, no.
out, and then it was still. So I'm assuming it might just be what's the electric boosting item? It might be one of those. Yeah, because it's clicking fake out and then pivoting. So,
Fake Out. Yeah,
and that's just not just
maybe
that,
it is.
but with the Terra Electric too, it's also going to be doing a touch more damage.
Yeah, but it's like I'm very surprised that without specs, it was doing like over half the conk. Unless, I mean, obviously the conk is not Assault Vest, so that's that. But conk has a really high HP stat, right? It's just not very strong ball. So, I mean, I know that electric ball is gonna have a very high base power, which I think is a very cool bring into this mostly slow team.
Hmm.
Like electric ball is guaranteed to have a very high base power, but even considering that, I'm surprised it did half the conk.
On to the Naganta game two,
Yeah,
I
hopefully,
guess.
yeah, moving on to game two, I really do hope to see an effort to set up Trick Room from Lit. So, because like I said, I don't think what has is good at trickery. Yeah, see game two. Raichu comes out, supported by this like possibly Scarf like around Dust. And this might be a fake out plus trigger lead, which God, I'm hoping we see trigger because like whatever we've been doing. I do presume that it's good. We're just gonna see a fake out into the Ridiculous and a fake out from Berserker into the Lycanroc or Raichu. And there's gonna be a nothing burger turn. Or you could just switch and we don't care to set up the trigger. Let me see crunch. I guess yeah, no, that makes sense because Raichu being able to get off the faster fake out means that Berserker would have been able to fake out the Lycanroc.
Hmm.
It also means that it's once again on this kind of a back foot, not being able to set up the trick room. Kong gets his guts active. Screamtail comes back in, expecting the Psychic Fangs, and you do see a Terra commitment from Om. And
Still gets
even
it.
though the Lycanroc Terra's out of the Steel weakness, it gets crit and O-code. And Berserker is pretty strong. Lycanroc's pretty frail, but I'm pretty certain that crit mattered. So yeah, that's a very bad turn from he committed Terra, did negligible damage to the Screamtail, lost his Terra mod instantly. Um, folks, it's not great. And you do see that from the Electro Ball damage into the Berserker, it's pretty possible that this is a Assault Vest Berserker. See Duraludon come out. See doesn't kill from Electro Ball doesn't kill. Duraludon's force Iron Defense again because it's looking like um mainly it's body press Iron Defense. Although I think that he really should have just clicked body press into the Berserker because you've already seen Encore from the Screamtail, which is faster than Duraludon.
Hmm.
And so losing a Raichu here means that most likely Duraludon is going to be Encore for the rest of the game. Whereas if you had just body pressed the Berserker, this chance Berserker dies and your Raichu is still alive, which would give you um, maneuverability with Encore. Because now that you've lost 2 months, this is getting stuck on the field for the rest of the game, and it's going to be Encore for the rest of the game.
And not just that, but the defense
You,
boosts are useless into Reuniclus, so.
yeah, I get that you want a defense boost because you know there's a Conqueror, but like you have to think about like not just like oh eventually I'm gonna want a defense boost when the Conqueror comes back. You have to think like right here, right now, this Berserker needs to die. Or else I'm gonna lose my Raichu and I'm gonna be stuck with just 2 months the rest of the game. And I'm not gonna be a switch out. I'm gonna be on court plus disable. I'm gonna struggle. Literally. So yeah. And you do see the item for the Raichu, which is just focus sash, but just get shocking. Maybe Electro Ball was really just really high base power of Conk.
Maybe it
Like
is
yeah,
max special attack.
I mean it is, but like still Conk is well too. Yeah. But gonna see an Encore coming out to the Duraludon.
Oh my god.
Yep, there you see.
And this is the
And then
double encore.
yeah, just gonna
No, he's
advance
got.
forever. No, you see, and then you're just gonna see close combat, but you're gonna see Dazzling Gleam coming off the screen tail, which kills the Halucha. Yep.
It
I
is.
yeah, it's very predictable. And then you're gonna see a Disable coming out to Radon. It's gonna struggle, do nothing. Oh, it's just
Oh,
gonna click.
okay.
I mean, Dazzling Gleam is fine as well. Yeah, it's not gonna matter because it's gonna get Encore again. Yeah, Encore, Hammer Arm.
I'll do it.
Yeah, this is. Yep, this game's over. Which I think an interesting thing to note that it is hammer up over something like close combat, which means that Lit actually does value um the lower base power in exchange for not dropping his defenses. Because like Conqueror does get access to a stronger fighting move in close combat, but it does mean that it does become slightly less bulky. So maybe it's possible that close combat doesn't get him any relevant KOs, or he just doesn't feel like he needs to drop his own defenses to do good damage at comp.
unless he feels like there was something on the team building side that says I would value the effective +1 speed in the trick room here, but looking at the draft lineups, that doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, the only thing that could be sitting in the back with like a lower speed is maybe Vulpix, maybe Dakshman, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you see, game two, even with Lit not actually being able to set up the trick room, see, as long as he's just not spending Terra and wasting time with a useless skill villain, he's the monster he has is just completely able to deal with whatever can bring. So yeah, I'm expecting as long as Lit doesn't try to use the skill villain again, he's gonna be able to pick up game three. We'll see. You see a Raichu with the Pincursion this time. So the electric terrain is actually coming out to play. But it also does mean that Mon on this side is not. I don't presume is able to threaten the Fusion Class over one KO. So you might be able to see the Trick Room being set up this game. And see that doesn't want to stay in. Iron Treads comes in. You see Fake Out coming into the Reuniclus because, like I said, the Mon here isn't actually able to threaten the Reuniclus. So you can't just fake out the Berserker. Because otherwise you're going to risk the Trick Room being set up. Unfortunately, Lit understands that he's not actually forced to fake out the recursion, so he just opts to go knock off into the Raichu, taking it down to its sash, which is a pretty bad situation for Om. Iron Shreds comes in and has a speed boost, but
Oh,
okay, within the electric terrain, Electric Ball does way more because of Surf Surfer and electric boost from the terrain itself. So last game you will see the Electric Ball do like I think 36% or something like that. This game, with the extra speed boost for the extra base power, plus the terrain boost for electric moves, seeing that shit to 88, which is incredible. Unfortunately, it still doesn't quite pick up the KO, and I tried to knock off. Oh,
oh,
wait, I just switched out. It crits, which is enough to take out the Reuniclus, so the Trick Room doesn't go off. Wow. I do think that Berserker is just going to pick up the KO on the Raichu though, but being able to pick off the Ryutas before it does anything is massive. And I do think Kim's going to be pretty upset about that one because she loves Ryutas and that has just done nothing all these games. We do see that both the Ryutas and the Transport Life Orb, but yeah, I'm pretty certain that crit mattered, which I guess sort of makes up for the crit from Berserker into his Rock game too. But yeah, I see close combat. Oh, it goes out
second
into the crits. Crits.
second
This
crit.
one I'm not entirely sure if it mattered, but it certainly is impactful. I do think Liv's still in a fine spot if he brings out something like the Conqueror right now, because that would threaten a priority knockout into the Raichu, who is already on 1 HP. Um, yeah, it really depends on what Om has in back outside of Sleeping Merchant. Lucha comes out. Oh, but you don't see. Yeah, you don't actually see the freaking what do you call Conqueror, which means the Raichu is able to get off another attack. I'm not sure if I like that the Raichu went for the attack into Screen Tail, because I do think that the Halucha, in order for it to do relevant damage into Screen Tail, needs to click SD. And so I do think Raichu just prioritizing a KO into the Berserker slot would be important, because right now the Screen Tail and Berserker could just run them to do like the LittEleven is not forced to target the Raichu because the attacking move in Screen Tail is Dazzling, and it's going to be able to pick up that Raichu and do good damage to Halucha. So the Berserker is able to just like fire off a strong like Iron Head into the Halucha, which just means that Halucha's probably going to die if it tries to set up here. But see, okay, it goes for the close combat into it, but like I would have really preferred if there's Raichu focused Berserker slot and Halucha went for an SD. Because you can see it. I mean, do see an Encore straight up. Okay, I guess yeah, not going for SD was anticipation of that. But I think you had to go for it because I don't think this puts you in a good enough position. Raichu's not doing enough damage with the Electro Ball into Scooptail. Yeah, I do see a Conkeldurr which would be able to pick off that thing with a Mach Punch. But you see, Terra comes out from the Hawlucha knowing that it has to like do relevant damage into the conk. Lit reads that very well with a Protect and clicks Dazzling Gleam. You see, the Dazzling Gleam does over half to the Hawlucha, which means the next one does kill. So, um, well, the Hawlucha is guaranteed to be dead next turn if it stays in. And frankly, I'm not even sure if it lives a Guts Mach Punch from the conk, which means that I'm just gonna find it really hard to do good damage into Lit's remaining mods, which concerns me. See, close combat does come out, does great, like does actually manage to do a lot of damage, but the Pincurchin is somehow slower than, I mean, not somehow, Pincurchin is really, really slow. And I do presume that Pincurchin was um, designed to operate under LittEleven's own trick room. So it is underspeeding the conk, but I mean, Lit has just never been able to set up trick room all game. So uh, see the Conqueror actually outspeeds the Pincurchin on this turn and picks up the KO on it. And then all that has left is a 1 HP Raichu is going to get Mach Punched. Yep, that concludes game 3. So LittEleven actually manages to pick up the set without even setting up Trick Room once. So
That is a wild set.
pretty, yeah. Also, yeah, a pretty interesting set. Mostly because Trick Room just never got set up. I do think that that set would have been not nearly as close if ridiculous set up Trick Room. Or what I was expecting is really the Dusclops, because I don't think that was a really good way for Dusclops to have been able to set up Trick Room, especially if there was a genuine Rage Powder as well. But yeah, pretty interesting set.